It's new. Welcome back to It's New. Hope you all had a nice weekend. Let's start with Mordy since you look very busy. I'm trying to distract you. What are you covering today?
I was writing down my fancy headline.
Ooh.
Turn around. Google's advice for those with a total eclipse of the heart.
Very catchy. And Crystal?
Should there be more options for people who are over the AI overviews?
Good. And Greg?
Comments on notes. That's something we're seeing in the SERPs, at least a test. And when will it end?
I feel like I need to come up with some really catchy phrase. But I'm just going to talk about how Danny Sullivan, John Mueller, may or may not speak directly to search engineers.
So, per Barry Schwartz over at Search Engine Roundtable, Google working on surfacing more content that comes from the heart. Well, there was a whole Twitter conversation, social media conversation with John Mueller talking about websites who have not recovered from the helpful content update with the March 2024 core update. And John was saying, we hope that if you make major changes to your site and take our advice to heart that you should write helpful content, that you will see perhaps a turnaround with future official core updates. So John wrote, yes, I imagine for most sites strongly affected, the effects will be site-wide for the time being, and it will take until the next update to see similar strong effects, assuming the new state of the site is significantly better than before. So again, this is a site-wide issue, just like the helpful content assess quality at the site level. Same thing here. Sites are just like completely devastated, not showing up for anything. I do have a bone to pick. So it's clearly not working. Google keeps saying over and over and over again, write good content, take our lessons to heart. I think, and maybe, and I'm saying as a former teacher, maybe we're just not getting it because we haven't seen it. I think SEOs and perhaps content creators across the web think of content a certain way. I think Google's looking at it a different way, and there's just a giant schism between the two. And Google needs to show actual examples of what it's looking for.
I think that people are really struggling with the messaging, and they've that was something we talked about. Danny talking at Brighton SEO, and that was something that he talked about. It's like we're trying to make our documentation clearer. We're trying to make it so that people understand better. And yeah, hopefully you think they're not there yet.
It's not, I don't find that documentation helpful. Crystal, we talk to site owners all the time, right? You may be a brilliant lawyer, but you're writing web content and it's a whole new game and you just don't understand what that means.
I think the problem is that when it comes to Google telling us what to do, Google's like, we don't want to tell you what to do. We want you to do what is for your users. So if you just expect us to tell you what to do and you're just doing stuff for us, then you're doing it wrong. And I think John's comments about, taking it to heart is more about when it comes to if you are really writing content from the heart, if you're really trying to write content that's helpful and you're doing it from the heart, and we're getting it wrong, we want to do better. And I think both John Mueller and Danny Sullivan said we found issues where our algorithms around helpfulness, servicing helpful content is not doing the proper job, and we're going to try to do better. Doesn't mean we will do better, but buckle up. Maybe something will change.
Yeah, and if it's really content from the heart, we're all kind of screwed because these recipe sites, you read about the beginnings of a love story to the birthing plan for the children. That's right from the heart. And it's not even about the recipe. That's what I see every time I try to get a recipe. But no, I think it's a good point. People are writing stuff to write things, not to help out. I still don't understand why people can't figure that out.
I think people don't understand what it actually means to write content that's helpful. I legit mean this. I think people look at content, they'll look at a content across the web for a query and be like, okay, this doesn't seem too bad, because that's what we're used to content being, this generic sterile content, and then we just keep doing it.
I think also there's something that's the fundamental thing of people who people don't just offer their advice just willy-nilly. People don't just think, you know what, today I'm going to get up and do this and tell everyone all about the best way to peel an artichoke or something, which is actually very difficult because artichokes are spiky in the middle. But like people don't just do that just off their own back a lot. Somebody who sells artichokes might be motivated to do that, and it's worth taking that time and doing all of that sort of stuff. So to sort of expect just random people from around the web all the time to be writing all this stuff from the heart, I think is a bit tricky, because there's going to be some topics where like people it's a professional service, artichoke things. I think that covers most people, but like people who are talking about, I don't know, tax law or something like that, that's a billable service, and that's not from the heart. That needs to be something that gets an ROI for taking that time out of your day as an expert to get that kind of information. So of course you want that content to be visible online. If that makes sense.
Right. I always felt like SEOs wrote content backwards. It's like a lot of SEOs like
100%.
Look for the keywords. Like, what are people searching for? I'm going to write about those keywords. And I never wrote an article ever looking at keyword data or what people might search for. I just wrote what I think people are interested in reading in the SEO community on that day.
Right.
Not about keyword data. So I don't know. But I mean, if we did have comments on our notes, I mean, that might make things a little bit easier, Greg, right?
Yeah, and there was, I believe Glenn Gabe had found this, or maybe it was Android Police, apparently. Under the notes within Google, the notes within the SERPs, there is a post setting that you can get to by hitting a plus sign if you're actually on a note. And you can see that there are like a comments icon struck through, and it says comments coming soon, which is interesting. So comments on notes, but how long will they last? Because notes used to say ends May 2024. Barry, I think you're pretty adamant that that was not a hard date. And now the notes warning says ends soon. So from May to ending soon, and maybe those comments will end, but don't really get the comments on the notes kind of thing. I guess maybe only for recipes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we'll see. I think this type of thing it might die. I'm not sure. We'll see. I don't think anybody would be upset if it died or went away.
It's just so inconsistent. I don't know how anybody could use it. You can't use it as a tool when it doesn't show up like literally half the time.
But things people might not be upset if it goes away, or if you had a setting for it to go away, might be AI overviews, right, Crystal?
Yeah, so the AI overviews are rolling out to folks, not to everybody, but to lots of folks, and we're finding it's getting kind of mixed reviews. So Lily Ray posted a snapshot of some screenshots of people saying that they please just let me search, things like that. But also interesting in the conversation, Michael Shetner, from the vice president of Microsoft, shared that if you don't like their AI overviews via Copilot on Bing, then you can turn it off. And a lot of people were saying that they wish they had a similar feature on Google as well. They don't yet. It will be interesting to see if that comes as part of the rollout of the AI overviews. But I thought that was interesting in the little rivalry that Bing and Google have going on at the moment.
I can't figure out why they just didn't add a setting. It's not like they need to show AI overviews. It costs them more, and they don't really even want to show them for the most part. So I'm surprised they don't even have a setting to like turn it off. I don't get what's the rationale. Anybody have any idea why Google wouldn't have a setting for it?
I mean, the only thing I can think is that they're going to get more data on how people respond to it if they just roll it out to everyone who's eligible or whatever, and then they'll be able to make some adjustments after it. So it could be that they're in the stage of like gathering data before they iterate on the next stage. That could be possible.
Stock price.
No, but if you leave it, if it's on by default, most people won't change the default. It's just going to leave it. So I would say 90% of people will just leave it, and it'll be what it is. But so those are 10% of searchers that really, really hate it. They can just turn it off. How's that hard? I don't know. Google will be Google, and that's it.
I'm with you. It's the most common sense thing in the world. If you don't want it, turn it off. Make content, make a product from the heart for you.
There you go.
That's not helpful advice.
And Danny Sullivan said he wanted there to be a setting, and they don't listen to him, even though he speaks directly to those search engineers. That transition, that was a good segue into. So Danny Sullivan, I gotta point out the obvious because it makes it more awkward when we're talking.
It was
Danny
helpful.
Sullivan,
Right on the back.
yeah. Anyway, we'll see if those things happen. But Danny Sullivan was asked, like, basically, do you even, you speak about all this type of stuff, and you say you're going to go ahead and like tell us to buckle up, and things will change. And people are like, do you even speak to people at Google, or are you just like talking to us? And basically, he says we work directly with the Google Search Quality team. We're part of that. The engineers who are coding our systems, we talk to them. They talk to us. It's one big kumbaya. So for some reason, people think that Google and Danny Sullivan and John Mueller do not speak to the actual coders who actually code the algorithms, but yet they do. Although sometimes, as you know, working with engineers and programmers, the things you lay out don't always come out to be the end result, especially when this infinite number of queries people could search for and so forth. So yeah, I mean, I'm surprised people don't think that they talk to him, but at the same time, yeah, things don't always happen the way you expect them to happen. Just like with these AI overviews, you can't turn them off.
I feel like you have some trauma here, Barry.
I built software. That's my company, so we do software development all the time. And you lay it out, and then there's this outlier or a bunch of outliers you don't think about. And then we're like, oh, Google. Why is Google taking so long to roll out another core update? Like things take time sometimes, especially with engineers, and you can only push so much. But people don't understand what goes into building software properly.
Right.
Especially, not a lot of people do, but there are subgroup of people that do not.
And I think also, like, they can, even if they're talking to each other every day, which I'm sure that they are, because they need to make sure that everything they say lines up with what's going on. But I think also, there's so many different parts of Google search that one part could be working here, another part could be working there. This might be working in Turkey. This might be working in Australia. This might be working in the United States. There's so many different component parts that it's they have a very challenging role. They're trying to talk to us about search. It's difficult for me as an SEO to keep up with it, let alone within the insight.
Very good. All right, thank you very much, and we'll see you guys later. I appreciate the news. And everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.